A good villain can make or break a series. Create the right one and they'll be coming back for more and more for seasons, years and decades to come. With all the best, or worst, intentions though, not every single enemy that has been encountered has proven to be as successful as fans might first think. With the benefit of hindsight and a good rewatch, those tribbles just don't appear anywhere as evil as they were the first, second or 10th time. Here's our look at when your plans for domination aren't so dominating. I'm Sean Ferrick for TrekCulture and here are the 10 most overrated Star Trek villains. Number 10. The Kazon. Based on LA gangs, the Kazon offered a tangible and immediate threat to the crew of Voyager from their first day in the Delta Quadrant. Supposedly right there with the worst of the worst, the Kazon sects popped up over the course of the first 2 seasons to attempt to steal the technology that Janeway refused to share. They started out with the fairly impressive Predator-class ship in Caretaker and the threat of more to come, yet the Kazon Ogla never followed it up, leaving the way clear for Kulla and the Kazon Nistrum in prime place. Their only significant victory? The capture of USS Voyager in basics, yes, they only ever achieved something resembling their goal once, and then only for a short time. Effectively, they were overcome by a hologram and a murderer later assisted by a flyby pilot and the less than aggressive Talaxians. That road to defeat does tell you a lot about the Kazon. Even the Borg, in perhaps one of the franchise's most cutting in-jokes, deemed the Kazon to have no redeeming features. Although set up in a similar fashion to the Ferengi in The Next Generation's first season, the Kazon were never resculpted for another use and were forgotten once Voyager passed their territory. Number 9. Swarm. A dangerous new foe shows up on the scene in Voyager's 3rd season, probably hoping to take the recurring villain spot vacated by the fleeing Kazon only a few episodes before. Mysterious and deadly, they were only ever identified as the Swarm, but featured in early Season 3 promotional materials for Voyager and were presented as the next thing for the crew to worry about. Undefeated at the climax of their eponymous episode, the lack of finality indicated that they would be back and in greater numbers. Nothing is really learned of them, and it's more of a standoff than a secession of intent. Much of the weight of the Swarm comes from the ominous description of this new foe and the indication of the danger Voyager faces by traversing their space. While the Vad War would later benefit from similar single episodic build-up, the Swarm were almost blink and miss, leaving them defanged in minutes. It's not as if Voyager had another big bad on the horizon that was mysterious, deadly, and acted as though there was some form of hive mind. A collective, if you will. If only they dressed all in black as well. Number 8. The Baul. In the 32nd century, the Baul coexist with the Kelpians and everything seems in balance, if not harmonious, but that's not how it once was with the Kelpians subservient to the shadowy creatures. In the short trek, The Brightest Star, viewers are transported to Kaminar, where we experience Saru's life before he joined Starfleet and the oppressive regime that his people were forced to live under. It would be later in the 2nd season that the audience would finally meet one of these beings that seemed like the spawn of a Dementor and a Ringwraith and terrified the local populace. Maybe even a bit of Armus in there to spice up the mix. All of the build-up and establishing of Kaminar's past came to very little, and a one-shot resolution in The Sound of Thunder. It would take the defeat of only one of these beings by Saru to change the equilibrium of Kaminar and usher in a new era. The speed at which their total rule comes to an end is alarmingly quick, and before you know it, the Kaminar borders are open and the Kelpians are chatting away to anyone and everyone in the universe. Number 7. Zhat Vash. A product of Star Trek Picard, the super-secret Zhat Vash are sworn to destroy all artificial life. Why? Because, thanks to the discovery of the admonition on the planet Aya, the Zhat Vash were instilled with a life-changing and monstrous vision of the future which could turn them mad. Experiencing something that horrific that it could lead you to suicide is extreme at the least, but their operations do offer up a lot of questions about their abilities. The visions immediately cut their numbers, and then during Picard we only see 2 of their number active, Commodore O and Narissa. Both are fairly ineffective in their roles given the secrecy and sense of impending doom that their name should cause. Narissa allows Elnor to escape and is kicked into touch by 7 of 9, while O flees with not even her pride intact after facing the Federation fleet. Why would they not have sent more on such an important mission to eliminate Soji, and why were the Zhat Vash not present a lot earlier in the Star Trek timeline to eliminate Data, Lore, and B4? Number 6. The Duros Sisters. Appearing several times throughout The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, the sisters of the House of Duros were, well, really only that kind of annoying side character that turns up from time to time. Their first appearance in Redemption served to start the Klingon Civil War, which wrapped up in about a hot afternoon. They were abandoned by their Romulan friends and spent the rest of The Next Generation and their sole appearance in Deep Space Nine limping through the quadrant, trying to take back what had been stolen from them, promising those young rascals that, oh, we'll have that Klingon council, we will. Their big claim to fame is that they did manage to effectively destroy the Enterprise D, which is no mean feat, we will say. That said, they did it by using a spy camera. I mean, where's the honour in that? They are fun in their appearances, to be sure. However, at the end of the day, they were never that much of a villain to contend with. Number 5, the Emerald Chain. If the 1,000-year leap into the future wasn't enough for the crew of Discovery, there was a new menace on the horizon. Headed by the Orions, the Emerald Chain were the dominant galactic power of the 32nd century. Taking advantage of the weakened, shrunken Federation, their control of dwindling dilithium supplies placed them at the top of the pecking order. Led by the acidic Orion Osira, there were few capable of standing against their tactics. Viewers watched their ruthless actions across the 3rd season of Discovery. However, their swift defeat in the finale certainly took away a lot of their power and presence. Coming down to a hand-to-hand fight between the Chain's leader and Michael Burnham and that inexplicable turbolift battle, the criminal powerhouse were crippled instantly. Season 4's opening episodes barely make a mention of the Chain, suggesting that they have truly fallen and disappeared into the background of the Milky Way. Number 4, the Borg post First Contact. The Borg in the next generation of First Contact are unquestionably terrifying, unstoppable, adaptive, relentless, emotionless. From their first appearance in Q Who through to their sole movie appearance in the 8th big screen outing, there was always that dark possibility that they could win, and they nearly did once. But Voyager changed all of that with the introduction of 7 of 9. Fans were chomping at the bit for the appearance of the Borg all the way through the first 3 seasons of the show. The Delta Quadrant was their stomping ground, and the final reveal of a Borg skeleton in Blood Fever ramped up the anticipation to unbearable. But then they became a villain of the week, whom fans knew would be stopped in their tracks by Janeway, 7 and the crew. Hard to swallow when a good proportion of the main Starfleet, including Picard and the Enterprise D and E, struggled to contain their malevolence on multiple occasions. An appearance from the Borg became more of a ratings pull than a genuine threat, and the Delta Quadrant's lions had their claws abruptly removed, even more so with the reveal of a mental safe haven in Unimatrix Zero. Number 3, lore. If Star Trek is guilty of one thing here, it's that Lore could well be the janitor in Scooby-Doo. He gets away with it on 2 occasions, with the Enterprise failing to put in a lot of effort to track him down. The evil twin scenario had been played out solidly in the original series, The Enemy Within, and to a degree with Mirror Mirror, so it was only a matter of time before the very Roddenberry-influenced stories of the first season headed in that same direction. Lore is a great character and opportunity for Brent Spiner to set Chew when he can't normally do as the emotionally limited Data, yet his villainy actually all comes from those already mentioned failings of the Enterprise crew. They are the ones that reactivate him without a second thought as to why he was in bits in the first place. They allow him to virtually access all of the ship, and it is through their ineptitude that Lore is able to gain any kind of level of superiority. Indeed, his encounter with the Borg and the subsequent elevation to the One is down to the inaction of the Enterprise crew when handed Hugh as their means to an end. Number 2, the Klingons. Established as one of the key antagonists in the original series, the Klingons appeared in a handful of episodes and proved to be a sharp, thick thorn in the side of Captain James T. Kirk. The structure of the Klingon Empire makes very little sense. The destruction of Praxis in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country has a sizable effect on their energy production, and it's noted that a large portion of that goes into their military. The overall focus on aggression might seem cool from the outside, but from a financial perspective, they're utterly screwed. That and their armor is tragically ineffective in every episode they ever appeared in. In the original series, there was a good deal of bravado and posturing from Kor, Koloth and Kang, but each walked away from their dealings with Kirk no better off, and in one case, loaded with tribbles. A few redesigns later, and it looked as though the warrior race were going to be a huge force to be reckoned with, even taking control of swathes of the Alpha Quadrant in Discovery. Yet their fall required barely any real effort from external forces and left them with a new Chancellor and a serious strategic rethink. Number 1, Q. Tacked onto the pilot of The Next Generation purely to flesh out the second half of the feature-length episode, Q became far more of an afterthought. Appearing across The Next Generation, DS9, Voyager, Lower Decks and Picard, the Omnipotent One has been the thorn in many a captain's side over the years. Or has he? If we look back at his exploits, Q began as a genuine threat to the Federation in Encounter at Farpoint. He placed the crew in real danger during a courtroom trial and proved to have something of a dark side by introducing viewers to the Borg, and even trying to turn Riker by granting him similar powers. But for a good proportion of his time, Q was not much more than a diversion, and that annoying child who continuously stabs his finger into your thigh demanding chocolate at the supermarket till. He promises a lot, delivers some, and produces significantly underwhelming results. Actor John Delancey is far better used when Q is dealing with more serious affairs, such as the anti-time paradox or the mortality of Death Wish, when there is a higher goal at stake. As a villain, Q doesn't amount to very much. However, as a contemplative partner on the journey, that's where his strength truly lies. Thank you very much everyone for watching along. Which of the Star Trek villains do you think are overrated? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much to Clive Burrell who wrote this article. You can find this article over on whatculture.com. Please follow us on the various socials. I'm at Sean Ferrick. Make sure that you're following TrekCulture as well. Thank you so much everyone who has subscribed to the channel. Please do so if you haven't already. I'll be your friend. Live long and prosper, my friends. See you soon.